How are you guys doing today? All right. I'd like to share a Native American proverb with you guys. All the flowers of all the tomorrows are in the seeds of today. The Native Americans understood that life is a force of energy that flows through us from generation to generation. With that force in mind, each and every life science graduate has a choice today, right now, to become a Jedi Knight, leading the charge for an awakening on this planet. How's that for a mission statement for a Jedi Knight warrior? To provide new knowledge of the ecological and evolutionary process that produce and sustain life on Earth, and to educate the next generation of scholars, professionals, and citizens for the biological, environmental, and biotechnological challenges of the future. Does that sound pretty good? Do you recognize it? I copied that from the description of the UCLA Life Sciences biology major. And so, my fellow Jedi Knights, are you up for the challenge? Then may the life force be with you. Yes, you guys are the leaders that we need at this critical junction in the history of life on Earth. I'm really honored and grateful to be here because as a filmmaker, I love to co-create with life science advisors. After all, we're both trying to tell the same story, to unveil the mysteries of life. And we have different approaches, but we're passionate to share the story about how life operates. I arrived as a freshman, poli-sci history major at UCLA in 1969. And I was studying the French Revolution in class while a revolution was going outside my classroom door. So I got involved in the anti-war movement. Because there were no phone cameras back then, the only way I could fight back was to pick up a 35mm still camera. And I started to document police brutality on campus. The helmeted, club-swinging police swept the campus, breaking up the anti-war protests. It happened right here on Jan's steps. And many students were bloodied on these grassy slopes we're sitting at right now. So I handed in the photo essays to my political science class, which was a lot easier for me than writing papers. And that's how I found my voice. Photography and filmmaking launched me into a world of art and technology, which I'm still in love with today. Filmmaking also introduced me to my greatest teacher. She taught me everything about the art of lighting, composition, movement, color, and balance. She taught me how to live a creative and sustainable life. Who was this amazing teacher? Mother Nature. She taught me that life is all about symbiotic relationships, and nature doesn't waste a single molecule, and never takes more than what she needs, a path we can all follow. Nature's operating instructions have guided me on a journey of self-discovery and adventure. It taught me about being present. It opened my heart to compassion and my soul to the divine mystery. When Einstein was asked for his definition of God, he simply replied, a sense of wonder. Have you ever wondered what it's like to experience the world from the point of view of a hummingbird or a flower? When we see life through their perspective, it's transformational because it broadens your horizons and expands your vision. I love making the invisible visible. Using the art of time-lapse and slow-motion cinematography, I can take audiences through portals of time and space. Wonder is where technology, art, and science converge. Knowing the ground we're standing on is more critical than going to Mars. There's a mile of mycelium in the cubic yard of earth right under your feet. Mycelium is the root structure of budding mushrooms. It's the largest organism on the planet and could be the one natural process that can save our food supply and clean the atmosphere. Mushrooms can heal you, they can feed you, clean up oil spills and toxic waste. And with the help of its plant partners, it can take carbon that we fill the atmosphere with and put it back under the ground where it belongs. And it can also shift your consciousness. Now you might be wondering, how does a filmmaker know so much about mushrooms? Well, it's because I'm doing a film on mushrooms. Actually, I'm doing a film about mushrooms, not on mushrooms. I just want to be clear about that. But the shift in consciousness is no joke. A shift is required as part of the solution for climate change. And education is key to shifting the behavior that got us in trouble to begin with. I had the pleasure recently to film an interview with Dr. Charles Grove of UCLA, who is leading studies and clinical trials on the effects of psilocybin mushrooms on cancer patients that are terminally ill. These studies describe individuals undergoing spiritual epiphanies, often with powerful and sustained improvement in mood and anxiety. From the late 1950s into the early 1970s, promising research with these medicinal drugs was being carried out at universities for alcohol and smoking addiction, as well as depression. Tragically, the research came to a screeching halt when the Nixon administration, for political reasons, declared these medicinal drugs illegal. You see, back in the 1960s, worldviews were being challenged, and consciousness was being raised, and figures of authority were feeling threatened. Your studies and research on evolutionary biology and ecology may be a threat to many groups, so I commend your bravery and courage to shine a light on the greatest story that needs to be told, the story of life on Earth. When I graduated from film school, I moved to a little town called Elk in Northern California, population 250. I wanted to film in the highest resolution I could, which was 35mm movie film, but I had no money, and film was really expensive. So I found this old 35mm movie camera, built in the 1930s, like an iron tank and just as heavy. And I modified it to accept still camera lenses, which I already owned. I had a friend who made electric guitars for the Grateful Dead, and we built the very first DC-powered time-lapse motor that ran on flashlight batteries. So I started chasing the light, capturing time-lapse magic moments of nature's wonders. And even though I didn't have much money, I had time and a sense of wonder. And I'm never going to get tired of seeing these flowers dance to the light. So I've had a camera running nonstop, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for over 35 years. Filming one frame every 15 minutes gives me about 4 seconds of screen time. And I've squeezed 35 years of time-lapse flowers into 14 hours of film. And what I learned is that beauty and seduction is nature's tool for survival because we protect what we love. We protect what we love. That's why puppies, kittens, and babies are cute. Parents, if they weren't cute, how else would we have gotten here today? That's called unconditional love. Filmmaking is a collaborative effort, so I moved back to LA and I showed my work to TV networks. They said it was beautiful, but they kind of scratched their head and said, well, what can you do with it? I mean, there's no conflict, right? You can't tell a story without conflict. Well, they were wrong, but the advertising agencies got it. They understood that we're hardwired to respond to beauty. And over time, we became the largest contemporary stock library, which grew to over 100 employees and 12 foreign offices, which I sold to Getty Images in 1996. So whether you're an artist or a scientist, if you follow your passion, you will succeed, and you'll never lose your way. So we need a new story, a narrative not based on fear and violence. Graduates, please guide me to tell new stories like the miracle of pollination, where flowers seduce bees, bats, hummingbirds, and butterflies to spread their DNA. It's a love story that feeds the earth with fruits, nuts, seeds, and vegetables. Help me understand how plants can grow and how they can feed us and heal us and capture energy from the sun, the only source, releasing oxygen and putting carbon back into the soil to regenerate life. Let's learn from indigenous cultures who understood the spiritual gifts that plants, forests, rivers, oceans, and mountains vibrate with, so we can understand the patterns of a living planet and universe. As you leave this excellent school and you step out into the world, what's your worldview going to look like? Is our future going to look like a Terminator movie or some disaster film that feeds fear to the consciousness of the world? Or is it going to be 3D virtual environments, bridge technologies to reconnect us to nature, by creating healing vibrations in your home with digital displays that enable you to experience any time-space reality from the Milky Way down to a microscopic cell. As you walk into the future, what will your worldview look like? Dystopia or a celebration of life? These are big issues, but every generation seems to encounter its share of turbulence. My parents lived through extremely difficult times. They were Holocaust survivors, and the hope that got them through it was to bear witness, to tell their story. I remember when I was a kid, my mom would roll up her sleeve and proudly show the concentration camp number tattooed on her arm, and she told friends and strangers, "I am a survivor." In the 90s, I was directing commercials, and I remember having lunch in a fancy restaurant in New York with my clients. On my way to the restroom, I saw a payphone. Do you remember what payphones are? That was the only way you could make a phone call unless you were at home. So I thought I'd check in with my dad, told him I'm directing this commercial for Siemens, a giant German electronic company. And then he says, "I used to work for those guys." I go, "You never told me that. When did you work for them?" When he was in the Lodz ghetto, he worked as a slave laborer, making electrical generators for Siemens. That was before he got shipped to Auschwitz with his mother and sisters, and he ended up being the lone survivor. Who would have thought that in one generation, the son of a slave laborer would be asked to direct an image campaign to introduce Siemens to the American market? I wish my parents could be here today to see us leading a much brighter future. And students from my generation confronted turbulent times as well. We fought against an unjust war, and we helped to end it. And it spawned an awakening that brought us liberation movements for African Americans, Hispanics, and women. But by any measure, you have the biggest challenge on your hands, the fight against environmental collapse. I believe the science, even if many politicians deny it. The Pope is going to champion climate change, making it more difficult for conservatives to deny it, putting you and science in the crossfire between politics and religion. I understand it's really easy to feel overwhelmed and discouraged, but I'm extremely hopeful because I believe in you. I'm standing right beside you. I believe that with your passion and determination, your innate creativity and ability to innovate and adapt, you can change the course we're on. Adaptability is the greatest evolutionary gift humankind has over any species on the planet. How lucky you are to be the generation that steps through the wormhole. Welcome to the new world where we straddle the divide between systems breakdown and breakthrough, where disruptive technology and creative thinking is a virtue, where 20-year-olds can be rewarded with fortunes for innovating ideas and platforms that come from their curiosity and inquisitive minds. What if the life sciences begins to unveil the mysteries by understanding the language of nature and shift behavior so we can have a sustainable relationship with our planet Earth? And what if life sciences takes it even a step further and nature becomes a metaphor to how to live our lives, a biomimicry guide on values, honoring the feminine, which is more about nurturing symbiotic relationships, cooperation, and connections, instead of the masculine story of survival of the fittest. Nature isn't greedy. It creates ecosystems that evolve and flourish. So brilliant design allows us to overcome entropy because everything in the universe wears out. And nature encourages conscious evolution that celebrates life by moving DNA forward. To that end, I encourage all of you to get out of your labs and explore the greatest laboratory that's been doing research and development for over 3 billion years. Evolutionary biology and ecology are where some of the most exciting discoveries are happening right now. You don't have to travel to Antarctica or Africa. It's happening right beneath your feet, in your own backyard. We have the technology, the solutions, and the science at our fingertips. It's really up to you, the class of Jedi Knight eco-warriors, to lead the way. So let's work together to protect the earth, our one and only home, for our children and future generations to come. With gratitude in our hearts, let's remember that all the flowers of all the tomorrows are in the seeds of today. Congratulations to all of you.